Hello! Thank you for stopping on my video. My name is Becky and this is BecxReadz. I post videos every 5 days, and if I can manage, I will squeeze some in between, and today I have a review for you. But before I get into the review, could you do me a favor and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already? It would really help my channel grow, and I would love for you to be here with me. Today I am bringing you an in-depth review of Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. Why am I in my kitchen? Because I am actually going to make one of the recipes that is in the back of this book. I love when books have recipes in them. I think it's so fun. So when I saw that this one had recipes in it, I knew I wanted to do a review and a recipe for this. So that is what we are going to do today. As I cook one of the recipes in this book, I am going to share with you my thoughts on this. This book has about 4 recipes in the back, but the only one that I have all the ingredients for at the moment is my Aunt Evelyn's corn pudding. So that is the one that I am going to make. I have never had corn pudding. I've heard of it, but I've never had it. I do like corn though, so this will be something new for me. So let's gather the ingredients that we're gonna need for this recipe, and once I start making it, I will get more in depth of my thoughts on this book. Before I get started on this recipe though, let me tell you what Before I Let Go is about in case you don't know. This is the story of Yasmin and Josiah. They have been married for quite a few years, but when the story starts, they have been divorced for a couple years now because they experienced 2 family deaths really close to one another, one of them being their stillborn son Henry, and that left Yasmin in a very dark pit of depression. And in that time, Yasmin and Josiah's way of dealing with their depression and their grief just did not align. They didn't know how to get through that dark time in their lives together as a team. And when Yasmin wants to try for another baby really quickly, Josiah wants nothing to do with that. He does not want to risk Yasmin's health on the chance that they might have another baby. So that forms an even bigger trench in their relationship that they just can't dig themselves out of. So that leads to them being divorced. And when the story starts, they are still co-parenting their children. They are running a business together, and they are in the process of sort of starting to move on in their relationship and date other people. But they still have so much attraction and chemistry together. They're still so much entrenched in each other's lives, and they've always loved each other. The love never went away in their relationship. So it's a second chance romance of them finding their way back to one another in this relationship, and the process that goes into that, and them dealing with their grief and their depression and learning how to connect again. Let's get started with this recipe, and then I will give you some little tidbits along the way as I go through each step of this recipe. Prepare a 9x13 baking pan with cooking spray, grease, or butter. All right, let's do that. I got my pan. I like to do this over the sink so it doesn't get all over the floor. All right, greased and ready to go. Step 2, melt your butter. So while I am doing this, let me tell you that this is the first Kennedy Ryan book I've ever read. I've seen her books around and I've just never picked one up before. It's not because they didn't sound interesting, I just haven't gotten around to it. But this cover is absolutely beautiful, and I thought I would give it a try. So my initial thought for this book was, I've heard lots of people talking about it, and I've heard some mixed things about it. I've heard some people claim it as a second chance romance, and then I've heard other people claim it as more women's fiction, chick lit, just general fiction with a romance like subplot. This is in fact a romance in my opinion, because a lot of general fiction, they focus on other relationships outside of the romantic relationship. They often focus on like friendships, parental relationships, sibling relationships, or like figuring out your life in certain areas, or building a new business or something like that. And then they have a small romantic subplot that focuses on a romantic relationship. This story, the main focus of the book is Yasmin and Josiah's relationship. There's other things going on, but their romance and their relationship is the central theme of the book. So I would say it's definitely a romance. All right, butter is melted. The next step, in one bowl, beat the eggs, add the vanilla extract, milk, and melted butter. So that's what we are going to do. So this book starts off with like a flashback scene of Josiah and Yasmin's relationship when they first got married. And then it progresses to present day where you see that they have now been divorced for a couple years. And when I first started the book, I knew that they got divorced because of a stillborn death. I knew that much. But if I hadn't known that, it would have taken me a few chapters to get to discovering why they went through their divorce, because that's not something that was explicitly like said at the beginning of the book. It was sort of like a little mystery, a little secret to begin with. And then you find out that them having a stillborn baby was the catalyst of it. I really liked Josiah and Yasmin's relationship. I thought they had a very mature relationship. They communicated excellently. Even though they're divorced, they still managed to co-parent their children really well. They still managed to run a business really well, and they still managed to be in each other's presence without it being this overly dramatic thing. I really liked how Josiah was very protective of Yasmin toward their daughter. They have a 13 going on 14-year-old daughter, and she's a little brat sometimes. She blames her mother for the divorce, and so her and her mother are sort of in a tense relationship. And anytime she says something snarky about Yasmin, Josiah makes it a point to put her in her place and be like, don't talk like that about your mother. So I really appreciated his influence like that in his children's lives. I loved the relationship that they had with their children. They tried not to talk badly about one another in front of their children. They really tried to be there for their children in every way. They went to like sporting events together. They went to school meetings together and things like that, which was really, really lovely to see. Whisk all that together. These two had off the charts explosive chemistry. Like, their sexual tension, their chemistry was just peak. This is a slow burn rekindling of their romance. And you can see that tension. And I really loved how Kennedy Ryan wrote this, that they would get so close and then something would pull them apart. And then they would get so close and then something would... So it really built that tension of me as a reader wanting these two to just get to it already. And when they do get to it, it's pretty great. They have some fun smut scenes. One takes place in their car as their children's birthday party is going on upstairs. It's fun. It's a fun time. I really enjoyed it. I would give this one about 3 chili peppers worth of steam. The next step says, in a separate bowl, stir together the salt, flour, and sugar, then combine with the egg mixture. There is also no cheating in this book, just FYI. Cheating is something that I hate in books. I do not like it when the couples cheat. I'm always like, if you're gonna get with somebody, get out of the relationship you're in with somebody else. And so that, I was kind of afraid that that was going to be like the third act breakup, because they do start dating other people in this story as trying to move on with themselves. But you know, this being a second chance romance, that they're going to end up together. So while I was reading, I was just like praying. I'm just like, please don't cheat. He started dating and he was in a pretty deep-ish relationship with another woman. He had already slept with her. His kids had been introduced to her. You could clearly tell that the woman he was in a relationship with had feelings for him. So I was just like, please don't cheat on her if you're going to get back together with your ex-wife. Yasmin, she starts dating a man, but she only dates him like a couple times. They don't ever sleep together. So I don't really think that she was in a relationship. She was just dating. And she did tell the man before they started anything that she wasn't ready for anything deep, that this wasn't serious. It was just her trying to move on, and he was okay with that. So again, I really liked the way that not only did the characters communicate with each other, but they communicated with the people around them. Josiah was a stand-up character. He talked to his girlfriend and he told her, you deserve better than this, and it's not your fault, but this is how I feel. So I really respected him for that. And I really loved how therapy was utilized in this story. Yasmin does seek out therapy after her divorce and the death of her baby. Josiah had always been reluctant to therapy. He didn't think it was beneficial to him. He always made it a point to say it was beneficial for her, but I don't think it would be beneficial for me. But something happens with their son, and he needs to go to therapy as he has this opportunity to skip some grades, but they want to make sure he's mature, like, emotionally. And Josiah makes it a point to say, you know, son, if you'll go to therapy, I will go to therapy. So that leads him into actually seeking out a therapist. And he's very reluctant about it at first. He's just like, this isn't, but it ends up helping him. And he ends up throughout the story seeking out his therapist to talk about things. And that was just really wonderful to see. I got all the dry ingredients together, so we're gonna pour them in with the egg mixture. Another thing I loved about this book was like the community aspect of it. There are different businesses other than Josiah and Yasmin's restaurant, and they all come together for like park events. I didn't realize that this was going to be the first book in a series, but I think that that community aspect really allows Kennedy Ryan to feature other characters that are involved in like different businesses and things like that. So that was really cool to see as well. The next step is to fold in the 2 cans of cream style corn. I love cream corn. Just fold it in. You just fold it in. I don't know how to fold it in. I thought there was going to be like a third act, like breakup or miscommunication. You know how romances like to add that in. Horrible, horrible thing. Authors need to stop doing that, because who likes that? Who likes the third act miscommunication drama thing? Does anybody? But it really doesn't. They have sort of an argument in the third act, but it doesn't lead to any sort of drama or anything. It was handled very maturely between the couple, and it wasn't something overly dramatic like that they had to spend the rest of the book figuring out. It was just an argument that people have, and they dealt with it, which is really nice to see again. One of the things I was afraid that I wouldn't like about this is I'm not the biggest fan of second chance romances, because I'm like a one and done type of chick. I'm like, if you screw up, don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out, you know? It's not like my least favorite trope. I will read it. It's just not one that I seek out. But I have realized that of the second chance romances that I tend to enjoy, they tend to be ones where the couple has already been married and either separated or divorced and are working to get back to their relationship. The only other one I can think of that I enjoyed is this book called Earn Me, and it sort of had that same vibe. It sort of gave me feels of this book. I don't remember if the couple was divorced or separated in that, but they had to work to rekindle their relationship, and I really liked that one. So if you liked this book, you might want to check Earn Me out. The only thing I didn't love about this book is I wish I would have felt Yasmin's like depression and grief stronger, because when I read books, I become the main character. It doesn't matter how the character is described. It doesn't matter what the gender of the character. The main character, it's always me. That's what happens when I read. I become the main character. And in this one, I was Yasmin. So I wanted to feel her depression and her grief. And I didn't really get that, because her depression and her grief after losing her son and going through her divorce, it's just sort of mentioned as a past thing. It's not something we're experiencing in the here and now. Sure, she's in therapy and she's talking about it, but she's not really experiencing it as I'm reading it, as I'm her. So I wish I could have felt that more. I think it would have given me much more of an emotional connection to her. There was one time she was in therapy and she started having like panic attacks, and I felt that because it was happening in the moment. That is the only thing that I didn't love, but it wasn't enough for me to, you know, knock points off in my rating of this book. The next step is to take your corn. I am using canned corn, so it says to drain half the water and then dump it in with the other mixture. So that is what I'm going to do. Then just stir the ingredients together and pour it in the pan. I ended up giving Before I Let Go 5 stars. I really enjoyed my time with it. I thought it was definitely deserving of all the hype it's getting. I loved Kennedy Ryan's writing style. I thought she did a great job of making me feel for these characters and feeling their romantic tension. So I definitely think it's one that you should check out. And if you have read it, let me know down below what you thought of it. And let's get to pouring this into the pan. And the final step is to bake it for 45 minutes. I will probably have to bake it longer just because my oven doesn't like reach the right temperature. So I'll probably bake it for like 50 and just check on it. But that's what we're going to do. And then when I'm done, I will come back and I will do a taste test. Final product. I had a nice setup because I just took an Instagram picture. Let's sit down and see what I think of this corn pudding. I put these little tortilla hearts on there for my Instagram picture. Okay. I mean, it smells good. My first taste of corn pudding. Let's see what it tastes like. Ooh, that's hot. Hold on. Let me blow it a minute. That's what she said. It tastes like slightly sweeter, slightly thicker cream corn. That's what I'm getting. I mean, I don't hate it because I like cream corn. It's just I was expecting maybe something a little bit different. I don't know. That's that. That's really all I have to say about this corn pudding. I mean, it tastes good. It tastes fine. I would eat it with like a hamburger or something like that if you're wanting something a tad sweeter and a tad more substantial than cream corn. I recommend this book. The recipe, yeah, give it or take it, whichever. I really wanted to try the lemon salad pound cake. Unfortunately, I didn't have some of the ingredients needed for that. I would also like to try the sweet potato pie pancakes. I'm not a pancake girly. I'm more of a waffle girl, but I still think like sweet potato pie waffles would sound good too. And then the other one is a vinaigrette, which I could take it or leave it. I don't really care about vinaigrette, but yeah. I thought that was really cool that she included some recipes in here. So give them a try if you have this book. Do you mind? I'm trying to film a video here. So thank you all so much for watching this recipe and review. If you made it this far in the video, could you leave me the corn emoji? And until my next video, read before I let go. Bye.